Joining me now is Barbara Waterhouse from Circle of Hope. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, what is Circle of Hope?
Circle of Hope is a nonprofit organization. We're a human service organization right here in Needham, and our objective is to serve the deepest needs of people here in Boston as well as internationally.
How did Circle of Hope start? Was it a joint effort?
Circle of Hope was started by a group of volunteers at Christ Episcopal Church here in Needham. We have two programs that each started from volunteer efforts at the church, and over time we decided that we really wanted to mobilize the community more and have it not just be church volunteers, but to be a business, a nonprofit business. We really saw the needs growing both for homeless individuals and extremely poor people here in Boston, and then the medical team saw a deepening need in Haiti, which is in fact the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere.
We're going to talk about the international aspect a little later on, but is that why Haiti became the focal point for the international matter, was because it's so much in need?
Yes, it really is the passion of one of our parishioners at Christ Church, Dr. Emily Hitron, who you'll meet. Emily had gone on a medical mission with another group to Haiti, and she just felt compelled to go back and to bring more volunteers with her. And the need is so great, it's almost indescribable. And so that passion moved other people, just the way our passion in Boston, seeing a deepening need in Boston, to say, how can we serve as the poverty deepens and as homelessness grows? What can we do in response to that? How can we mobilize the community and get more people involved beyond just a small church to the greater community?
Have you seen a large spike in the need in the recent years with everything that's going on in the economy?
Yes, sadly enough, we have. Right now in Boston, there are over 7,200 homeless people in Boston, of which 2,500 are children.
Wow.
And the fastest growing population of homeless people in Boston are children under 5.
Wow, that's startling, actually.
It really is. And when we started this as a nonprofit, some people said to me, isn't it kind of a crazy time to start a business when there isn't enough funding for nonprofits? And I thought, well, perhaps that's true, but the need is growing, and maybe if we can tell our story and show that we have all these years of volunteer experience behind us. Homelessness is not new to me, and it's not new to the Circle of Hope volunteers.
What do you mean by that? It's not new to you and it's not new to the volunteers?
Well, I've been going into the shelters throughout Boston for 13 years as a volunteer, and I've seen things change, and not for the better. There are shelters that have closed within the last year. 3 of the shelters out of we used to serve 15 shelters, and now there are 12 that we serve. 3 family shelters have closed, and not because there isn't an increasing need. Funding is really difficult, and so what we provide, the clothing, the household goods, the things that are really essential for infants and children and women and men, that can be the difference for people. If we can provide these essential items, they can maybe spend a little bit of money on food or save it for their heat or other necessities like childcare.
One of Governor Patrick's goals for his term in office is to eradicate homelessness. And he also just announced $17.9 million in stimulus funds for homelessness issues. Do you think that will help? How do you think, number one, do you think his mission is even possible to happen?
I think you always have to have an impossible mission as your dream. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't work at Circle of Hope. I think Governor Patrick, I spoke to him once early on when he was campaigning about affordable housing, and I spoke to him about homelessness, and I think he really cares. He's formed a new interagency council on homelessness, which I think has the potential to do great work. That being said, right now we're in flux. That agency is not fully operational, and the affordable housing isn't readily available. I think it will be, But right now, it's not there. I see people going to motels. I see people coming to the shelter being turned away.
Well, it must be frustrating too. In Boston, there is so much vacant apartment buildings that were built because people assumed, hey, if we build it, middle class and maybe upper middle class people will come in and they'll rent or they'll buy. And that wasn't happening. That's not happening. So when you see people on the street who need a place to live, need a warm shower, need a kitchen to make their meals in, it must be so frustrating.
It's very frustrating. And part of what I've seen is the gentrification of the low-income areas of the city actually displaces people who need that housing. They can no longer afford to stay in the neighborhoods where they once lived. It's very frustrating for me to drive by a shelter that I was serving 4 months ago, and now it's empty, and I see a high chair in the window, and I think, where's the baby that belongs in that high chair? That was not the answer to the problem, but it's the stopgap measure. It's the emergency place where people need to go to get their lives in order, to get their stable housing, which I think the governor is very aware of. But in the meantime, I'm very frustrated to be serving and seeing the need grow and not see the housing grow with it.
How is Circle of Hope funded? It's a nonprofit, correct?
That's right. It's a nonprofit 501c3. Right now it is funded 100% by volunteers and by donations of goods and services and money. We're trying to develop our grant writing capabilities. We've received 2 small grants so far, and we're pretty excited about that because I think grant writing will, when the government funding and some of the private foundations rebound from the economy, I think we'll be well poised to go for more grant money. But right now, it's our volunteers, everyone who sorts at Circle of Hope for the Greater Boston Community Exchange. They come bringing bags of clothing. They sort other people's donations and they bring their own.
I was going to ask, how are the donations now? Are you still seeing the same amount of donations? Are you seeing more? Are you seeing less?
I'm happy to say to you that we're seeing more donations. I believe the downturn in the economy has helped people understand that you don't blame the victim for being homeless. I think people see the economy, that there are families who are 1 paycheck away from financial disaster. I went once to Family House Shelter, which is now closed, but when I went there, it was on request to bring some donations of clothing and a few kitchen items for a mom who was moving out. She had 2 little boys. They'd been in the shelter for 6 months and they were moving. And it just so happened the day that I made the delivery, she's there, she's showing me pictures of her son, and she told me her story. She had a full-time job and was living independently with her sons in a nice apartment. But one of her sons has asthma, and she took so much time off from work to take care of him that she lost her job. And I think that's a common story, that a lot of people are one illness or one family crisis away from homelessness.
I think you're absolutely right. I think people, especially with what has happened recently with the economy, nobody is safe. I mean, unless you're a gazillionaire, basically. So,
but I do think that that has helped make people even more compassionate than they have been. And they know that even if they don't have a lot to share, the 2 pieces of clothing that they don't need right now, that are in perfect condition, that they'd be wearing if they needed it, they'll drop it at Circle of Hope. Our volunteers will fold it neatly, put it in a bag according to its size, and that will be delivered the following week. Our turnaround time is really quick.
Barbara, what does Circle of Hope provide to the men, women, and children that you serve?
I think the greatest gift that we give to people is respect and dignity. When we bring clothing for the men, women, and children in Boston, or we bring medicine to the people in Haiti, we are bringing the gift of dignity and hope. Circle of Hope really does represent its name. I've had people tell me that from the shelters, you really live your name. We are all about the relationship of bringing hope to the people that we serve and bringing dignity in the gift of the clothing that we bring, so that people feel that they are cared for and that they're loved by somebody they don't even know.
Barbara, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come here and talk to us about Circle of Hope. We're going to be talking to some of your colleagues coming up, so people at home can learn more about Circle of Hope and find out how they can donate and help out.
Thank you very much. It's really a humbling experience to be here and to have the opportunity to talk about Circle of Hope, and I thank you.